A businessman returns to the public school where he studied, ready to donate a modern library as a sign of gratitude. But as he walks through the corridors of his childhood, he encounters a 6-year-old girl cleaning tiles with her hands injured and her eyes exhausted. The truth she reveals breaks his heart. Watch until the end to understand. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. Nathan Reed checked his reflection in the rearview mirror of his Tesla Model X. At 45, his temples had begun to gray, giving him what his marketing team called distinguished gravitas, useful for a tech CEO whose name graced the masthead of a dozen successful companies. His fingers drummed nervously against the steering wheel as he stared at the red brick building across the street. Garfield Elementary School hadn't changed much in 35 years. The April rain pattered against the windshield as Nathan gathered his leather portfolio. Inside were the architectural plans for what would become the Reed Digital Learning Center, a state-of-the-art library with free computer access, digital education tools, and a makerspace for the kids of Detroit's struggling East Side. The same neighborhood where he'd grown up, where his single mother had worked 3 jobs, and where a compassionate librarian had once shown him how a computer worked, changing his life forever. "You're being ridiculous," he muttered to himself. "It's just a school." But it wasn't just any school. This was where it all began, before MIT, before his first startup, before the millions turned to billions, before the TED Talks and magazine covers. This was the ground floor of Nathan Reed's universe, and returning felt like time travel. Principal. Caldwell was waiting for him at the entrance, a broad smile beneath shrewd eyes. Richard Caldwell had been appointed 5 years ago, according to Nathan's research, and had received mixed reviews from the community. Some praised his fundraising abilities, others questioned where the money actually went. "Mr. Reed, what an honor!" Caldwell's handshake was firm, his gold watch glinting beneath a tailored suit cuff that seemed out of place for an elementary school administrator in a district with notorious budget problems. "The children are so excited about your donation. A whole wing dedicated to digital learning. It's revolutionary for our community." Nathan smiled politely. "It's the least I can do. This place gave me my foundation. And look at you now. A true hometown hero. Let me show you around before we discuss the final details." The hallways were oddly quiet for a school day. The classrooms they passed were well-equipped but sparsely populated. When Nathan asked about the low attendance, Caldwell waved dismissively. "Spring flu season hits us every year." As they turned a corner, Nathan noticed water pooling on the floor near a bank of lockers. "Looks like another leak," Nathan observed. Caldwell's smile tightened. "Budget cuts. We've had to prioritize educational resources over building maintenance, which is why your generous donation is such a blessing." Something about Caldwell's explanation felt rehearsed, but Nathan nodded anyway. They continued the tour, with Caldwell pointing out where the new digital center would be located, discussing timeline expectations and publicity opportunities. "Would you like to see our current library? It's modest, but it'll give you a sense of what we're working with." The library was little more than a repurposed classroom with sagging bookshelves and outdated encyclopedias. 2 ancient desktop computers sat unused in a corner, their monitors thick with dust. Nathan's heart sank. This was worse than he'd imagined. "The school board allocated our technology budget elsewhere," Caldwell explained, without specifying where. "Strategic priorities." "This is exactly why I wanted to help," Nathan said. "Every child deserves access to information and technology. It changed my life." Caldwell checked his watch. "Let's head to my office to sign the paperwork. My assistant has prepared everything." "Actually, would you mind if I use the restroom first?" "Of course, down the hall to your left. I'll meet you in my office. End of the corridor, can't miss it." Nathan nodded and headed in the direction Caldwell had pointed. The men's room door creaked as he pushed it open, revealing dim fluorescent lighting and the strong smell of industrial cleaner. He was about to enter when a small sound stopped him. a soft rhythmic scrubbing coming from the adjacent girls' bathroom. Curious, Nathan paused. The door to the girls' room was propped open with a janitor's bucket. He peered inside, expecting to see a custodian. What he saw instead would haunt him for years to come. A tiny girl knelt on the tiled floor, scrubbing vigorously at dark grout lines between white tiles. Her thin arms moved mechanically back and forth, her small hands red and chapped around the brush she gripped. She wore what must have once been the school uniform, a navy jumper now faded and stained with bleach marks. Her mousy brown hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, revealing a face too serious for her years. "Hello?" Nathan said softly. The girl startled, nearly dropping the cleaning brush. Wide, fearful eyes met his, and she scrambled to her feet. "I'm sorry. I'm almost done, I promise." Her voice trembled as she spoke, her gaze darting to the industrial cleaner beside her. "Please don't tell Mr. Caldwell I'm not finished yet." Nathan stepped cautiously into the bathroom, keeping his distance to avoid frightening her further. "I'm not here to check on you. I'm just visiting the school. My name is Nathan." The girl seemed to relax slightly, but kept a wary distance. "I'm Lily. I'm supposed to finish all the bathrooms before lunch period." Nathan glanced around. The bathroom was spotless, gleaming in a way that suggested hours of work. "You did all this by yourself?" he asked, noticing the angry red welts on her small hands. Lily nodded, trying to hide her hands behind her back. "I do it every day, before school and after, and on weekends too." "Every day? Why are you cleaning the school? Where are the janitors?" The girl's lower lip trembled. "Mr. Caldwell says my mom's job depends on me helping out. She's sick in the hospital, and if I don't do a good job, they'll take me away from my grandma." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "And then I'll have nowhere to go." A cold fury began to build in Nathan's chest, but he kept his expression gentle. "How old are you, Lily?" 6.5, she said, holding up 6 fingers and then adding a small space between her thumb and forefinger to indicate the half. The childish gesture contrasted sharply with her exhausted demeanor. Nathan crouched down to her level, keeping his voice calm despite his growing anger. "And your mom, she works here at the school?" Lily nodded. "She's the cafeteria manager, but she got really sick and now she can't work. Mr. Caldwell said he'd keep paying her if I helped out." She glanced nervously at the door. "I should really finish. The 5th graders come back from gym class soon." Nathan noticed now that beyond her chapped hands, Lily's uniform covered knees that were raw and scabbed from kneeling on hard surfaces. Her eyes held a weariness no child should know. "What else do you clean besides the bathrooms, Lily?" "Everything," she said simply. "The classrooms, the hallways, the cafeteria, Mr. Caldwell's office. On weekends, I do the gym and the teacher's lounge." She recited the list as if it were normal for a 1st grader to be responsible for an entire school's maintenance. Nathan's mind raced. This wasn't just inappropriate, it was illegal. Child labor, exploitation, blackmail. And from the principal's luxurious watch and suit, he suspected there was more to the story than budget cuts. "Lily, would you like to show me what else you clean? I'd like to understand your day better." She hesitated. "But Mr. Caldwell is waiting for you." "Let him wait," Nathan said, making a decision that would alter not just his plans for a library donation, but the course of his life. "This is more important." Lily led Nathan through the eerily quiet hallways, pointing out the areas she cleaned each day. She spoke with the mechanical efficiency of someone reciting a painful routine, detached from the abnormality of her situation. With each new revelation, the weight of furniture she moved to mop underneath, the toxic chemicals she handled without protection, the threats Caldwell made when corners were cut, Nathan's resolve hardened. "Sometimes I don't finish everything." "Before school starts," Lily confessed as they passed the cafeteria. "Then I have to skip lunch to catch up." Nathan noticed her thin wrists and the way her uniform hung loosely on her small frame. "When was the last time you ate at school, Lily?" She thought for a moment. "Tuesday, I think. Mr. Caldwell said the free lunch program ran out of funding." She lowered her voice, "But I saw him take food home in his car." They turned down another corridor and Lily pointed to a janitorial closet. That's where I keep my supplies. Mr. Caldwell has the key, so I can only clean when he lets me. Nathan carefully opened the door. Inside were industrial-grade cleaning products with hazard warnings prominently displayed, chemicals that even adults should use with caution. On a small hook hung a tiny backpack decorated with faded unicorns, the only reminder that the child beside him should be learning multiplication tables instead of operating floor buffers. "This isn't right, Lily," Nathan said gently. "Children, your age shouldn't be doing this kind of work. But your mom wouldn't want you hurting yourself like this." He gestured to her raw hands. "Does she know what you're doing here?" Lily looked down. "Mr. Caldwell said not to tell her because it would make her worry and get sicker." A single tear slid down her cheek. "I want to be a doctor someday so I can make her better, but I'm so tired. After cleaning that, I fall asleep in class." Nathan checked his watch. The scheduled meeting with Caldwell had started 15 minutes ago. "Lily, is there a teacher you trust? Someone you can talk to?" "Mr. Dennison is nice. He gives me granola, bars sometimes, and helps me with my homework when I stay late. Is he here today?" Lily nodded. "Room 118. But please don't get him in trouble. Mr. Caldwell doesn't like when teachers talk to me too much." "I just want to ask him a question. Would you show me to his classroom?" Michael Dennison was in his early 30s, with kind eyes behind, wire-rimmed glasses. His classroom was alive with color. Student artwork, science projects, and motivational posters covering every wall. When Lily entered with Nathan, Dennison's expression shifted from surprise to guarded concern. "Lily, shouldn't you be in Mrs. Wilson's class right now?" "Mr. Caldwell said I had to finish the bathrooms first," she replied. Dennison's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly before he turned to Nathan with a professionally polite smile. "I'm Michael Dennison. Can I help you with something?" "Nathan. Reed, I'm here about the library donation, but I've discovered something concerning." He glanced meaningfully at Lily. "Perhaps we could speak privately for a moment." Understanding immediately, Dennison nodded. "Lily, why don't you work on your reading at my desk? The new book about space exploration came in yesterday." For the first time since meeting her, Nathan saw genuine excitement in Lily's eyes as she settled at the teacher's desk with an illustrated book. Once they stepped into the hallway, Nathan didn't waste time. "How long has she been working as the school janitor?" Dennison sighed, removing his glasses to rub his eyes. 4 months since her mother was hospitalized. It started small. Caldwell asked her to help out with simple tasks. Then suddenly, she was doing everything. "I've tried to report it, but what? Things have a way of disappearing in this district. Paperwork, complaints, even people who make too much noise." Dennison looked nervously over his shoulder. "Caldwell has connections with the school board, the district supervisor, even some folks in the mayor's office. They all look the other way." "Why would they protect him?" "Money. This school receives substantial funding for maintenance, special programs, even a nutrition grant. On paper, we have a full janitorial staff, 2 counselors, and a nutrition specialist. In reality," he gestured toward Lily. "Where do you think that money goes?" Nathan's blood boiled. "And no one stops this?" "The few who've tried found themselves reassigned to the worst schools in the district or pushed out entirely. I've been documenting everything, building a case, but I need to be careful. There are other vulnerable families involved too." "Other children working like Lily?" Dennison nodded grimly. 7 families total, all with similar situations. Single. Parents, medical crises, immigration issues, people with no power to fight back and everything to lose. Nathan glanced back at Lily, now absorbed in her book. Her hands are raw. She's handling dangerous chemicals. She's starving herself to complete impossible tasks. This ends today. Just confronting Caldwell won't work, Dennison warned. He'll deny everything, clean up the evidence, and punish the families. I've seen it before. Then we need to be smarter than him. Nathan pulled out his phone. I'm calling my legal team. But first I want to meet Lily's mother, Sarah Foster. She's at Detroit Memorial Oncology Ward. Lily's grandmother, Martha, watches her when she's not here, but the old woman can barely take care of herself. And what happened to Lily's father? Left years ago, no contact. Nathan nodded, his mind already formulating a strategy. Mr. Dennison, would you be willing to make a statement if it came to that, officially? The teacher hesitated only briefly. Yes, these kids deserve better. Good, I'll need your contact information, and please keep our conversation confidential. For now, I'll deal with Caldwell as planned. He can't know we're on to him. After exchanging numbers with Dennison and assuring Lily he would see her again soon, Nathan finally made his way to Caldwell's office. The principal's secretary gave him a reproachful look. Mr. Caldwell has been waiting for nearly 40 minutes, sir. My apologies. I got lost in memories. It's been decades since I roamed these halls. When he entered the office, Caldwell's false smile couldn't mask his irritation. I was beginning to think you'd changed your mind about our partnership, Mr. Reed. Nathan forced himself to remain composed, though it took every ounce of self-control not to confront the man about Lily. Not at all. I was just reacquainting myself with the school. It's illuminating to see how things operate here. Caldwell's eyes narrowed slightly. I hope our modest facilities haven't discouraged you. As I mentioned, budget constraints have been challenging. Actually, I'd like to discuss your budget in more detail. My donation needs to complement existing resources, not duplicate them. Of course, though those details are quite technical, perhaps we should focus on the agreement today and... I insist, Nathan interrupted smoothly. For a project of this magnitude, I need to understand the full financial picture. Maintenance costs, staffing, operational expenses, everything. Those records are kept at the district office, Caldwell replied, his voice cooling, and subject to approval for external review. I'm sure exceptions can be made for donors contributing 7 figures. Nathan leaned forward. Unless there's something in those records you'd prefer I not see. The challenge hung in the air between them. For a moment, Nathan thought he'd pushed too far, too fast. Then Caldwell's politician smile returned. Nothing to hide here, Mr. Reed. Just bureaucratic red tape. I'll have my assistant request those files immediately. He slid a folder across his desk. In the meantime, shall we review the donation agreement? Our legal team has prepared everything to your specifications. Nathan skimmed the document, buying time while his mind raced. Actually, I'd like my team to review some adjustments. Given what I've seen today, I'm considering expanding the scope beyond just the library. Expanding? Caldwell couldn't hide his interest. In what way? A comprehensive support system. Educational resources, yes, but also community services, healthcare partnerships, nutrition programs. Nathan watched Caldwell carefully. I'm particularly concerned about student welfare. Every child deserves proper care, adequate nutrition, and appropriate supervision. Wouldn't you agree? Caldwell's smile never wavered, but his knuckles whitened as he gripped his pen. Absolutely. Student welfare is our highest priority. Wonderful. Then you'll have no objections to a thorough needs assessment before we proceed. My team will want to interview staff, students, parents, get a complete picture. That seems excessive for a library donation, Caldwell countered, an edge creeping into his voice. Nathan stood, tucking the unsigned agreement into his portfolio. I never do anything halfway, Mr. Caldwell. When I commit to a community, I commit fully. I'll be in touch once my team has drafted the revised proposal. As he turned to leave, Caldwell called after him. Mr. Reed, I hope you understand that timing is crucial. The school board meets next week to finalize next year's budget. If we don't have your commitment by then... Nathan paused at the door. Then perhaps they should focus on properly allocating the funds they already have. Good day, Mr. Caldwell. Outside, in the parking lot, Nathan sat in his car, hands shaking with anger. He pulled out his phone and dialed his most trusted legal advisor. Jennifer, it's Nathan. I need you to clear my schedule for the next month and assemble a team. Education law specialists, forensic accountants, private investigators, the best you can find. He paused, watching as Caldwell emerged from the building, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing angrily. We're about to take on a fight that could cost me everything, but there's a little girl who's counting on me to win. Detroit Memorial Hospital smelled of antiseptic and fading hope. Nathan carried a bouquet of bright sunflowers as he navigated the oncology ward, following a nurse's directions to room 418. He paused outside the door, gathering his thoughts. How do you tell a seriously ill mother that her 6-year-old daughter is being exploited? That the safety net she thought was protecting her family was actually a trap? He knocked softly. Come in. The voice was weak but determined. Sarah Foster looked both younger and older than her 32 years. The chemotherapy had stolen her hair and much of her physical strength, but her eyes, the same shade of hazel as Lily's, remained sharp and alert. Despite her frail appearance, she sat upright in her hospital bed, a laptop balanced on her knees. Mrs. Foster, I'm Nathan Reed. Recognition flickered across her face. The tech billionaire. If you're selling something, I'm afraid my budget's a bit tight these days. Her attempt at humor was undermined by the strain in her voice. I'm not selling anything. Nathan set the flowers on her bedside table. I met your daughter Lily today at Garfield Elementary. The change in Sarah's demeanor was immediate. She closed her laptop and straightened, maternal concern overriding physical weakness. Is she all right? Did something happen? Nathan pulled a chair beside her bed. Mrs. Foster. Sarah, please. Sarah, what I'm about to tell you will be difficult to hear, but I promise I'm here to help, not make things worse. Over the next 20 minutes, Nathan gently explained what he'd discovered. Lily's exhausting labor, the dangerous conditions, the threats and manipulation from Caldwell. With each revelation, Sarah's expression shifted from disbelief to horror to a cold fury that transcended her physical fragility. That monster told me she was just helping with small classroom tasks, straightening books, cleaning chalkboards. Her hands trembled as she reached for a glass of water. He said it was good for her to feel useful while I was sick, that it would give her structure. She looked up at Nathan, eyes brimming with tears of rage. I trusted him because I had no choice. The medical bills were mounting, and when he offered to continue my salary if Lily could help out at school, you did what any parent would do in an impossible situation, Nathan assured her. No, I failed her. I should have known something wasn't right. She comes home exhausted, falls asleep at dinner. Her hands... Sarah broke off, choking back a sob. I thought it was eczema from stress. I've been so focused on fighting this disease that I missed what was happening to my own daughter. You haven't failed, Sarah. You're fighting for your life, and Caldwell exploited that, but it stops now. Sarah wiped her eyes, strength returning to her voice. How? Richard Caldwell has half the school board in his pocket. When I first got sick, I tried applying for family medical leave. The paperwork mysteriously disappeared 3 times. It was only when I gave up and was about to resign that he offered his arrangement. I'm prepared to help you legally and financially, Nathan said. My company has a position that would allow you to work remotely while you recover, with full medical benefits, no strings attached. Sarah looked at him suspiciously. Why would you do that? You don't know me. Because 30 years ago, I was a kid like Lily at that same school. Not exploited but poor, with a single mother struggling to keep us afloat. Someone helped us then. Now it's my turn to pay it forward. Sarah studied his face, searching for deception and finding none. And in return, I need your help exposing Caldwell and the system protecting him, not just for Lily's sake, but for all the families he's exploiting. After a moment, Sarah nodded. What do you need me to do? Start by telling me everything. Dates, conversations, paperwork, anything that could establish a pattern of corruption and exploitation. Then, if you're willing, make a formal statement to my legal team. For the next hour, Sarah detailed her interactions with Caldwell, painting a picture of systematic manipulation. She'd been the cafeteria manager for 3 years before her diagnosis, often noticing discrepancies between ordered supplies and deliveries. When she'd begun asking questions, Caldwell had reassigned her to inventory management, a position that gave her less visibility into day-to-day operations. Looking back, she said, I think he was isolating me because I was noticing too much. Then when I got sick, he saw an opportunity. Nathan took careful notes. Did you ever document the discrepancies you noticed? Sarah's eyes widened. Actually, yes. She reached for her laptop. I started keeping spreadsheets of everything. Orders, deliveries, invoices. It became a habit from my previous job in hotel management. She pulled up a folder labeled Inventory Discrepancies. I haven't updated it since I've been hospitalized, but there's at least a year's worth of data here. Nathan leaned forward, scanning the meticulous records. Sarah, do you realize what you have here? This is evidence of potential fraud, possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars worth. I knew something was off, but I never imagined. She trailed off, then straightened her shoulders. Take it, use it. If it helps bring Caldwell down and protects Lily, it's yours. I'll have my team analyze these records immediately, but what you and Lily need right now is protection. Once Caldwell realizes we're investigating, he might retaliate. Sarah's face darkened with worry. My mother can barely take care of herself, let alone protect Lily from someone like Caldwell. Would you consider temporary relocation? I own a secure apartment building where you could recover while we build the case. It's close to the hospital, and there's space for your mother too. I can't afford... It's not about affording it, Sarah. It's about keeping your family safe while you heal. Consider it an advance on your future employment. Sarah hesitated, pride warring with practicality. Lily has school. We can arrange transportation to a different school, or temporary homeschooling if necessary. After a long moment, Sarah nodded. Okay, for Lily's sake. The relief in her voice was palpable, and Nathan realized just how long she'd been carrying the weight of impossible choices alone. I'll make the arrangements immediately. Is there anything you need from your home? Just Lily's favorite stuffed rabbit and some photos. Everything else is replaceable. She reached out suddenly, gripping Nathan's hand with surprising strength. Promise me you won't let Caldwell hurt any more children. I promise, Nathan said, and meant it. Back in his car, Nathan made a flurry of calls to his head of security, to arrange protection for the Foster family, to his executive assistant to prepare the company apartment, and finally to Jennifer Lee, his chief legal counsel. Jen, I need you to meet me at my office in an hour. Bring the team. We're moving. Faster than I anticipated. By evening, Nathan had assembled an unlikely coalition in the conference room of Reed Technologies' Detroit headquarters. Jennifer Lee stood at the whiteboard, her tailored suit and precise movements reflecting her background as a former federal prosecutor. Beside her sat Marcus Williams, a private investigator with 20 years of experience exposing corporate malfeasance. On video call was Darius Chen, a forensic accountant whose quiet demeanor belied his ruthless ability to follow money trails through the most complex systems. Most surprising was the presence of Michael Dennison, who'd agreed to come directly from school after receiving Nathan's urgent message. Let me make sure I understand correctly, Jennifer said, reviewing her notes. We have evidence of a public school principal forcing a 6-year-old child to work as unpaid labor, misappropriating public funds, falsifying employment records, and potentially endangering multiple children, all while protected by connections in the school district and possibly local government. That's the simplified version, Nathan confirmed. Jennifer whistled low. And you want to pursue this instead of simply reporting it to authorities because I tried that route. 3 times, Dennison interjected. Child Protective Services investigations mysteriously closed without findings. School board complaints disappeared. Even an anonymous tip to the state education department went nowhere. Someone's protecting Caldwell, Marcus observed. The question is why? What's he offering that's worth covering up child exploitation? Darius spoke up from the video screen. Follow the money. I've started analyzing the school budget allocations you sent. Garfield Elementary receives approximately $3.2 million annually, including special grants for maintenance, nutrition, and after-school programming. On paper, they have 15 administrative staff, 10 maintenance personnel, and various specialists. In reality, they have a skeleton crew and a 6-year-old janitor, Nathan finished grimly. Where's the difference going? Jennifer asked. That's what we need to find out, Nathan said. Sarah Foster's records show significant discrepancies in cafeteria. Supplies alone, If that pattern extends to other departments, we're potentially looking at millions diverted over several years, Darius confirmed. And likely not just to Caldwell, Marcus added. Her scheme this size would require protection at multiple levels. School board members, district administrators, possibly even local officials. Dennison nodded. The current superintendent came from nowhere 3 years ago. No background in education, but strong ties to several board members and major construction companies that mysteriously started winning all the school renovation contracts. Classic pay-to-play, Jennifer muttered, making notes. We need to move carefully. If we spook them too early, records will vanish and scapegoats will be found. Meanwhile, Lily and the other children remain at risk, which is why we need both a short-term intervention and a long-term strategy, Nathan said. I've already arranged for Lily and her family to be relocated to a secure location. Sarah Foster has agreed to provide testimony and evidence. What? About the other families? Dennison asked. There are 6 more in similar situations. We need to identify and approach them discreetly, Marcus suggested. Offer similar protection and gather their testimonies. Meanwhile, Jennifer added, we build the financial case with Sarah's records and whatever else we can obtain legally. Once we have enough evidence, we take it directly to the State Attorney General's office, not local law enforcement. Nathan turned to Dennison. You're the most vulnerable person in this room right now. Caldwell will suspect you if children start disappearing from his labor pool. Are you prepared for that? The teacher removed his glasses, a gesture Nathan was beginning to recognize as his way of steeling himself. I became a teacher to help children, not watch them be exploited. Whatever happens to me is secondary. Nothing will happen to you, Nathan promised. From this moment on, you have the full protection of my security team and legal resources. As the meeting concluded, Nathan felt a familiar energy coursing through him, the same determined focus that had built his tech empire. But this wasn't about market share or innovation. It was about a little girl with raw hands and stolen dreams. We move quickly but carefully, he told the team as they dispersed. These children have already lost too much time. The investigation progressed with surgical precision over the next 2 weeks. Sarah Foster and her mother were comfortably settled in Nathan's secure apartment building, with Lily enrolled in a private school that accommodated her situation with compassion. The little girl's transformation was remarkable. Her hands healing, her eyes brightening, her natural childhood curiosity re-emerging like a flower after a long winter. Meanwhile, Marcus Williams and his team worked discreetly to identify and approach the other families trapped in Caldwell's web. Their stories were heartbreakingly similar. Vulnerability exploited, children forced into inappropriate labor, threats maintaining silence. A Somali refugee whose janitorial position was contingent on his 10-year-old son working alongside him. A single father with mounting medical debts, whose daughters prepared meals in the school kitchen. An undocumented grandmother, whose grandchildren cleaned classrooms in exchange for her not being reported to immigration authorities. One by one, Nathan offered them the same protection and support he'd given the Fosters: secure housing, legitimate employment, legal assistance, most accepted with tearful gratitude. 2 refused, too frightened of Caldwell's connections to risk defiance. We'll protect them anyway, Nathan assured his team. They just don't know it yet. Dennison continued, teaching at Garfield, becoming their eyes inside the school while carefully documenting everything he observed. On Wednesday afternoon, he was scheduled to meet Nathan to deliver new evidence. Financial documents he'd managed to photograph in the school office, but Dennison never arrived. Nathan paced his office, checking his watch again. 2 hours late. This isn't like him. Marcus hung up his phone with a grim expression. No answer at his apartment. His car is still in the school parking lot. Security cameras show him leaving the building at 4:15, heading toward the teacher's lot, then nothing. Check hospitals, Nathan ordered. Check police reports. Find him. Jennifer entered, her face tense. Nathan, there's something else. Channel 7 just ran a story about disruptive investigations at Garfield Elementary. They're painting you as a corporate bully using your wealth to interfere with a struggling public school. Caldwell's pushing back, Nathan muttered. He knows. We're on to him. It gets worse. The school board issued a statement supporting Caldwell and questioning your true motives. They're suggesting your interest is really about acquiring the school property for commercial development. Nathan slammed his hand on the desk. That's absurd. I've never... It doesn't matter if it's true, Jennifer interrupted. It's about controlling the narrative. They're trying to turn public opinion against you before we can present our evidence. Nathan's phone buzzed with an incoming text. He checked it and froze. What is it? Marcus asked. It's from an unknown number. Drop the investigation or Dennison won't be the only one to disappear. Children need stability, not your disruptive interference. A heavy silence fell over the room. They're threatening the children. Now, Nathan said quietly. We need to go to the police, Jennifer insisted. With what? An anonymous text? Meanwhile, Dennison is missing and potentially in danger. Marcus's phone chimed. Detroit PD just filed a report. Michael Dennison has been reported missing by his sister. Police note that he's been under significant stress and are classifying it as a voluntary absence. Convenient, Nathan growled. They're already setting up the narrative that he had a breakdown and left on his own. His assistant knocked urgently before entering. Mr. Reed, there are 3 board members from Reed Technologies in the lobby. They're demanding an emergency meeting and say they won't leave without speaking to you. Nathan exchanged glances with Jennifer. The pressure campaign is hitting from all sides now. You knew this might happen, she reminded him. Going after powerful people has consequences. Set up the conference room, Nathan instructed his assistant. Tell them I'll be there in 10 minutes. After she left, Nathan turned to his team. Keep looking for Dennison and double the security on all the families we've relocated. I'll handle the board. The atmosphere in the conference room crackled with tension as Nathan entered. William Peterson, his oldest friend and business partner, sat flanked by 2 other board members. Eliza Chambers, representing their largest institutional investors, and Robert Vaughan, head of their international division. This better be important. Bill, we're in the middle of a crisis. That's exactly why we're here, Peterson replied. His usually friendly face hardened with concern. What the hell are you doing, Nate? The company's stock dropped 6% today after that news story broke. Since when do we make decisions? Based on daily stock fluctuations? Since our major partners started calling me directly, Eliza interjected. The Nakamura Group is threatening to pull out of our Tokyo expansion if this controversy continues. They're saying you've gone rogue, using company resources for a personal vendetta. It's not a vendetta. It's about stopping the exploitation of children. Then let the proper authorities handle it, Robert exclaimed. File reports, donate to advocacy groups. Hell, fund a whole non-profit if you want. But this direct involvement is putting everything we've built at risk. Peterson slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was an email from Greenway International, their largest European partner. The message was clear. Either Nathan stepped back from the Garfield investigation, or they would terminate their $400 million joint venture. This isn't just about stock prices, Nate, Peterson said quietly. This is about the livelihoods of 20,000 employees worldwide, people with families, mortgages, dreams that depend on this company's stability. Nathan felt the weight of those 20,000 lives pressing against him. And what about Lily Foster? What about her dreams, or the refugee children scrubbing toilets instead of learning to read? Do they matter less because they're fewer in number? Of course they matter, Eliza said, softening slightly, but there are established channels for addressing these issues. You can't save these children by destroying yourself. Sometimes, the established channels are part of the problem, Nathan countered. What if I told you that Caldwell's protection extends to the police, the school board, and possibly higher? What if I told you that a teacher who tried to help us is now missing, and the authorities are dismissing it? The board members exchanged uneasy glances. You're talking about systemic corruption, Robert said slowly. That's an even bigger reason to step back. You're not equipped to dismantle an entire corrupt system. Maybe not alone, Nathan conceded. But I have resources, influence, and most importantly, evidence. Would you have me walk away knowing what I know? Peterson leaned forward. We're asking you to consider a compromise. Hand your evidence to independent investigators. Fund the effort if you want. But remove yourself and the company name from direct involvement. Create distance that protects our business interests while still supporting the cause. Nathan was silent for a long moment, weighing his options. Every business instinct told him Peterson was right. This was becoming too costly, too dangerous. But then he remembered Lily's raw hands, her exhausted eyes, the weight of adult burdens on her tiny shoulders. "I appreciate your concerns," he said finally, "and I understand the potential consequences. But I made a promise to these families, and I won't abandon them now when the fight is getting difficult. Even if it costs you your position as CEO?" Eliza asked bluntly. The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. "Are you threatening to remove me from my own company?" "The board has a fiduciary responsibility," Robert replied, not quite meeting Nathan's eyes. "If your actions jeopardize the company's stability..." "I see." Nathan stood, suddenly calm in the face of their ultimatum. "Then I suggest you call a formal vote. In the meantime, I have a missing teacher to find and children to protect." After they left, Nathan stood alone at the window of his office, watching the Detroit skyline as twilight descended. The city had shaped him, its grit, its resilience, its stark inequalities. He'd built his fortune by solving problems others thought impossible, but this was different. This wasn't about technology or market share. It was about the fundamental worth of a child's life and dignity. His phone rang. "Marcus, any news on Dennison?" "Nothing concrete, but we found something strange. The night before he disappeared, he sent an email to his sister with an attachment, a large encrypted file. The subject line was insurance policy. We're working on decrypting it now." He knew they might come for him, Nathan realized. Smart man. "There's something else. Our sources at the district office say there's an unusual school board meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning. Closed session, emergency basis. The agenda isn't public." "They're circling the wagons," Nathan concluded, "which means we need to move faster than planned. How soon can we get our evidence organized enough to take to the Attorney General?" 2 days minimum. Darius is still tracing the financial pathways, and without Dennison's testimony, we may not have 2 days. If they're holding an emergency meeting, they could be preparing to destroy evidence or create cover stories. Nathan made a quick decision. "Call Jennifer. Tell her to prepare for a different approach. We're going public." "Public? With what?" "Exactly. With enough to force an immediate external investigation. Sometimes the best disinfectant is sunlight." Nathan ended the call and opened his laptop. He began drafting a statement that would change the course of his life. A public declaration of what he'd discovered at Garfield Elementary, with supporting evidence that couldn't be ignored. It would likely cost him his position at Reed Technologies. It might even make him powerful enemies for life. But as he typed, he remembered Sarah Foster's determined eyes despite her illness. He thought of Lily, now sleeping safely, free from chemicals and exploitation. He recalled Dennison's quiet courage before his disappearance. Some costs were worth paying. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Parking garage. Level B2, northwest corner, 20 minutes. Come alone if you want answers about Dennison." Nathan stared at the message, considering its obvious danger and equally obvious importance. Without Dennison's testimony, their case was significantly weakened. But walking into a potential trap wouldn't help anyone. He texted Marcus. "Possible lead on Dennison, parking garage B2, 20 minutes, don't approach but have team ready." Then he took his private elevator down, pulse steady despite the risk. The parking garage was dimly lit, concrete pillars creating shadows perfect for concealment. Nathan moved cautiously toward the northwest corner, senses heightened. "Stop there," came a whispered voice from behind a concrete column. "Are you alone?" "As requested," Nathan replied. "Where is Michael Dennison?" A slender figure stepped partially into view, face obscured by a hoodie. "I don't know exactly, but I know who took him and why." Nathan recognized the voice now. "You're Caldwell's secretary." She nodded once. "My name is Vanessa. I've worked at Garfield for 8 years, seen a lot of things I wish I hadn't." "Why help us now?" "Because they crossed a line with Dennison. He's a good man. and because of what they're planning for those. Children, if you don't back off. She glanced nervously around. Dennison was gathering evidence about more than just Caldwell. The corruption goes all the way up to the superintendent and includes 3 school board members and the deputy mayor. We suspected as much. What we need is proof. Dennison had it. He made copies of financial records showing fake contracts, ghost employees, kickbacks. They found out somehow. She pulled a USB drive from her pocket. He gave me this the day he disappeared. Said if anything happened to him, I should wait 3 days, then get it to someone who could help. Nathan reached for the drive, but she pulled back. If I give you this, I need protection. They'll know it was me. You have my word. We can relocate you immediately. Vanessa hesitated, then placed the drive in his hand. There's something else you should know. The emergency board meeting tomorrow. It's not just about damage control. They're planning to announce a major redevelopment of Garfield and 3 other schools. Millions in contracts for companies connected to board members, all built on falsified safety reports, claiming the schools are structurally unsound. And the students, distributed to already overcrowded schools across the district. The vulnerable families Caldwell exploits, they'll lose what little support system they have. It's a land grab disguised as educational reform. Nathan's mind raced connecting dots. This explains why they're fighting so hard. It's not just about covering up past corruption. They're protecting future profits. Exactly. And Dennison threatened all of it. She glanced at her watch. I have to go. They can't know I was here. Wait, is Dennison? Is he alive? Her expression darkened. Last I heard, yes, but they're keeping him somewhere until they can create a convincing narrative about his mental state. Make it look like he had a breakdown and ran away. After Vanessa disappeared into the shadows, Nathan clutched the USB drive that might save Dennison and bring down an entire corrupt system. He texted Marcus, "Got what we needed. Heading up. Prepare for a long night." The war was far from over, but they finally had ammunition that could break through the enemy's defenses. Dawn broke over Detroit as Nathan's team finalized their strategy. The USB drive from Vanessa had proven even more valuable than expected, containing not just financial records but recorded conversations between Caldwell and his co-conspirators, discussing everything from the exploitation of vulnerable families to the planned redevelopment scheme. "This is explosive," Jennifer said, reviewing the final presentation. "Once this goes public, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle." Nathan nodded, rubbing his tired eyes. They'd worked through the night verifying information and preparing their approach. That's the point. We need to create enough public pressure that even Caldwell's protectors can't sweep it under the rug. "The timing has to be perfect," Marcus added. "The school board meeting starts at 9 a.m. We need to strike before they can implement whatever they're planning." Nathan checked his watch. 6:30 a.m. "Are the media contacts ready?" 5 major outlets confirmed for the 8 a.m. briefing, Jennifer confirmed. Plus, the State Attorney General's office has agreed to send a representative, though they're keeping it low profile for now. "And the families?" "Secure in the conference center downstairs. We've arranged private rooms where they can give statements if they choose to." Nathan looked at the faces around him. His legal team, investigators, security personnel, all exhausted but determined. "What we do today will have consequences beyond just Garfield Elementary. We're challenging a system that's been allowed to operate unchecked for years. There will be powerful people who won't forgive that." "We know the risks," Jennifer assured him. "We're all in." As they dispersed to make final preparations, Nathan's phone rang. The board again. "Nathan, it's Bill. Have you reconsidered our discussion?" "I have, and my position remains unchanged." Peterson sighed heavily. "Then I should inform you that the board has called an emergency session this morning. Given your persistence in this matter, we'll be voting on a temporary leadership transition." Nathan had expected this, but the reality still stung. "You're removing me as CEO." "Temporarily," Peterson emphasized, "until this situation resolves. It's not personal, Nate. It's about protecting the company." "It feels pretty personal from where I'm standing, Bill. 20 years building this company together, and you're pushing me out over a matter of principle. Principles don't keep the lights on or make payroll, Peterson countered. Look, just think about your legacy. Is this really how you want to be remembered? Not as the innovator who revolutionized accessibility technology, but as the CEO who sacrificed his company on a quixotic crusade. Nathan watched the sunrise painting the Detroit skyline golden red. Maybe my legacy isn't what I built, but what I was willing to risk when it mattered most. That's poetry, not business. Then perhaps I've been in the wrong business all along. Nathan ended the call, surprising himself with how little the imminent loss of his position affected him compared to the thought of abandoning Lily and the others. At 7:45 a.m., he entered the conference room where the Foster family waited. Lily sat coloring at a table, her hands now healing, her posture relaxed. Sarah watched her daughter with a mixture of pride and lingering guilt. "You look worried," Sarah observed as Nathan approached. "Big day ahead. There will be media, official statements. Are you still comfortable with Lily's story being shared?" Sarah nodded firmly. "We discussed it. Lily understands that by speaking up, she might help other children who are still being hurt." She lowered her voice. "She's been having nightmares about the other kids still cleaning while she's safe. She feels guilty for leaving them behind." Nathan crouched beside Lily's chair. "What are you drawing, Lily?" The little girl held up her artwork, a colorful scene of children playing on a playground. "It's what school should be like. No more cleaning, just learning and playing." "That's exactly what we're fighting for today," Nathan assured her. "And you're being very brave helping us." Lily considered this seriously. Mr. Dennison said sometimes, "Being brave just means telling the truth, even when it's scary." Nathan's throat tightened. Mr. Dennison is a wise man. "Will we find him soon?" Lily asked, her intuition piercing. "We're doing everything we can," Nathan promised, hoping it was enough. At precisely 8 a.m., the press conference began in Reed Technologies' main auditorium. Television cameras and journalists filled the room, drawn by the mysterious invitation, promising a major announcement affecting Detroit public education. Nathan approached the podium, flanked by Jennifer and representatives from each affected family who had chosen to come forward. He began without preamble. "My name is Nathan Reed. 2 weeks ago, I visited Garfield Elementary School to arrange a donation for a new library. What I found instead was a 6-year-old girl named Lily, working as an unpaid janitor, handling toxic chemicals, and being exploited through threats against her sick mother." The room fell silent as Nathan methodically outlined what they'd discovered: the systematic exploitation of vulnerable families, the financial fraud, the disappearance of Michael Dennison, and the planned redevelopment scheme that would displace hundreds of students for private profit. "This isn't just about one corrupt principal," Nathan continued. "Our investigation has uncovered evidence implicating multiple school board members, district officials, and even members of city government in what amounts to a criminal conspiracy." On large screens behind him, documents from Dennison's USB drive appeared, financial records showing ghost employees, falsified contracts, and millions in misappropriated funds. As we speak, the school board is holding an emergency closed session, not to address these abuses, but to further their scheme and potentially destroy evidence. We are therefore releasing all our findings to the public and to appropriate law enforcement agencies simultaneously. Jennifer stepped forward. "We have prepared detailed information packets for each media outlet present, as well as for the Attorney General's office, which has a representative here today." A woman in a charcoal suit stood briefly, acknowledging her presence without comment. "Additionally," Nathan continued, "we have provided secure accommodations and employment opportunities for the affected families, who have bravely agreed to cooperate with any official investigation." One by one, family representatives came forward to share brief statements, dignified, resolute testimonies of exploitation and coercion. Sarah Foster spoke last, her voice steady despite her physical frailty. "My daughter was robbed of her childhood by people who were supposed to protect her education. While I lay in a hospital bed fighting for my life, she was scrubbing floors with chemicals that burned her skin, all because we were vulnerable and desperate. No child should ever have to choose between their education and their family's survival. No parent should be exploited when they're at their most helpless. As the press conference concluded, Nathan's phone exploded with notifications. The story was already breaking across all major networks. Reporters were surrounding the school board meeting. Social media was ablaze with outrage. And then came a text from Marcus. Police just found Dennison, abandoned warehouse in Corktown. He's alive, en route to Detroit Medical now. Relief washed over Nathan. One small victory amid the gathering storm. Outside the auditorium, Peterson waited, his expression grim. The board vote was unanimous, he said without preamble. Effective immediately, you're on administrative leave pending review. Alice Chen will serve as interim CEO. Nathan nodded, having expected nothing less. Alice is a good choice. She understands the company's mission. This gives you what you want, Nate, freedom to pursue this crusade without dragging Reed Technologies through the mud with you. Is that how you see standing up for exploited children? As mud? Peterson had the grace to look uncomfortable. You know what I mean, there are proper channels for these things. The proper channels were corrupted. Sometimes you have to create a new path when the established ones lead nowhere. Before Peterson could respond, Jennifer rushed up. Nathan, turn on the news, now! On their phones, they watched live coverage of police entering the school board meeting, led by the Attorney General herself. Board members were being escorted out, some in handcuffs. Simultaneously, at Garfield Elementary, Richard Caldwell was being led to a police cruiser, his expression a mixture of shock and resignation. Operation Clean School, the reporter announced. A multi-agency effort to address alleged corruption and child exploitation in Detroit's public school system. Sources tell us this operation was accelerated due to evidence provided by tech billionaire Nathan Reed and several whistleblowers from within the system. Peterson watched in stunned silence as the scale of the operation became clear. Multiple arrests across the district, seizure of records, schools temporarily closed for investigation. You actually did it, he murmured. We did what was necessary, Nathan corrected, and it's just beginning. By afternoon, developments were unfolding rapidly. Michael Dennison had been found dehydrated and bruised, but otherwise unharmed, apparently abandoned by his captors once the investigation went public. His medical prognosis was good, though he remained under police protection. The Attorney General had announced a special task force to investigate the full scope of corruption in the district, with particular emphasis on the exploitation of vulnerable families and students. Nathan's evidence had apparently provided the final piece of a puzzle law enforcement had been working on for months, but couldn't complete without insider testimony. Most significantly for the children, emergency measures had been implemented to ensure proper staffing and safe conditions at affected schools, with state oversight of district operations until the investigation concluded. As Nathan watched these developments from his office, now technically no longer his, a strange calm settled over him. He had lost his position, strained lifelong friendships, and made powerful enemies, yet he felt more purposeful than he had in years. Sarah Foster knocked softly at his door, Lily beside her. We saw the news, Sarah said. They're saying you lost your company because of us. Nathan smiled reassuringly. I haven't lost anything that matters. The company will be fine without me for a while, and I'm still its largest shareholder. Think of it as a sabbatical. Lily approached his desk, solemnly placing her drawing in front of him. I made this for you. It's all the kids being happy because they don't have to clean anymore. Nathan studied the colorful figures playing beneath a bright sun. It's beautiful, Lily. May I keep it? She nodded, then asked with childlike directness, what happens now? It was the question everyone was asking. His former board, the media, the families they'd helped. What happens after you upend an entire system? Now, Nathan said thoughtfully, we build something better. As if on cue, his phone chimed with an incoming email. It was from Richard Caldwell, sent just before his arrest. The subject line read simply, "There's more." The holding room at the Detroit Metropolitan Detention Center was sparse but clean. A metal table, 2 chairs, and a one-way mirror reflecting Nathan's tense expression back at him. He'd been waiting 15 minutes, rehearsing what he would say to the man who had exploited Lily and countless other children. The door opened. Richard Caldwell entered, escorted by a corrections officer. Without his tailored suit and carefully maintained facade, the former principal looked diminished. Shoulders slumped beneath the orange jumpsuit, eyes hollow with exhaustion. The officer nodded to Nathan and stepped outside, though Nathan knew he was watching through the mirror. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," Caldwell said, his voice lacking the smooth confidence Nathan remembered. "Your email said, 'There's more.' I'm here to find out what that means." Caldwell studied his cuffed hands. "I imagine you think I'm a monster. What I think doesn't matter. Your actions speak for themselves. And yet you came." Caldwell looked up. "Because you suspect, as I do, that removing me solves only part of the problem." Nathan leaned forward. "Stop playing games, Caldwell. If you have information about others involved in your scheme, now's the time to share it." A bitter smile crossed Caldwell's face. "My scheme? Is that what you think this was? One rogue principal creating a corrupt fiefdom?" He shook his head slowly. "I was a third-grade teacher once, Mr. Reed. Did you know that? For 12 years, I taught children to read, to solve problems, to believe in themselves. What happened?" The question seemed to catch Caldwell off guard. Perhaps he'd expected only contempt, not curiosity. "What happened?" he repeated. "Life happened. Budget cuts, politics, watching talented colleagues leave for private schools or different careers because they couldn't survive on a teacher's salary. And then the ultimate disillusionment, discovering that the district's nutrition program was essentially a money laundering operation." "You found corruption and became part of it," Nathan observed. "Not exactly a redemptive arc." Caldwell's eyes flashed with momentary anger. "I reported it, followed every proper channel like a good citizen, gathered evidence, documented discrepancies, even wore a wire to meetings with suppliers. And for my efforts, I was demoted, transferred to the district's worst performing school, and labeled a troublemaker." He leaned back, the brief fire extinguished. "When my wife got sick, they used my desperation against me. Suddenly, the same administrators I'd tried to expose were offering me a promotion to principal. With conditions, of course. Start small, they said. Just look the other way on certain budget allocations. Then it became active participation. Before I knew it, I was trapped in the same system I'd once fought against." "And the children?" Nathan pressed. "Was exploiting them part of your compromise too?" Shame flickered across Caldwell's face. "That was never part of the plan. But when the district cut our maintenance budget while simultaneously demanding higher standards for inspection, I made choices I'll regret for the rest of my life. You threatened a 6-year-old girl, made her handle toxic chemicals, kept her from her education." Yes, the simple admission held no excuses. "When her mother got sick, I saw an opportunity to solve my staffing problem while appearing benevolent. I told myself I was helping them, keeping Sarah employed, giving Lily purpose." His voice cracked slightly. "But the truth is, I became what I once despised, someone who uses the vulnerable for personal gain." Nathan struggled to reconcile his hatred for what Caldwell had done with the broken man before him. "Why are you telling me this? What do you want?" "Redemption isn't possible for me, but exposing the entire system might help ensure no other idealistic teacher follows my path." Caldwell met Nathan's gaze directly. "The corruption doesn't end with me, or even with the school board members who've been arrested. It extends to the mayor's office, to state education officials, to companies that have been siphoning millions from schools across Michigan for decades. You have proof? I've been keeping insurance for years. Documentation of every meeting, every directive, every threat, names, dates, account numbers, everything. Why not turn this over to the authorities?" "Because until now, I had no reason to believe anyone would act on it. The same officials who protected the system for years are still in positions of power. What I need is someone with resources and influence who can't be silenced or bought off. Someone like you." Nathan considered this carefully. "This information Where is it? In a safe deposit box at First Michigan Bank, downtown branch. The key is hidden behind the baseboard in my office at Garfield, behind the filing cabinet. The box contains a hard drive with everything I've collected over 15 years, enough to bring down half the educational bureaucracy in this state. Why should I believe you? This could be a trap or a distraction. Caldwell nodded, accepting the skepticism as fair. The hard drive is encrypted. The password is Elizabeth Ann Caldwell, May 12, 2019. My wife's name and the date she passed. Verification enough that the information is genuinely from me. The personal detail caught Nathan off guard. Your wife, cancer, like Sarah Foster. The difference was I had good insurance and savings. Sarah didn't. That's why her daughter was cleaning bathrooms while my wife received the best care possible. Bitterness and remorse mingled in his voice. The irony isn't lost on me. Nathan was silent for a long moment. Even if everything you're saying is true, why help expose it now? You're already facing serious charges. Because there's a difference between being punished and making amends, Caldwell replied quietly. I can't undo what I did to Lily and the others, but I can try to ensure the system that corrupted me doesn't continue destroying lives after I'm gone. As Nathan left the detention center, his mind churned with conflicting emotions. Part of him wanted to dismiss Caldwell's story as self-serving manipulation. Yet another part recognized the ring of authenticity in the man's confession, not excusing his actions, but contextualizing them within a larger, more insidious pattern. He called Marcus immediately. I need you to retrieve something from Garfield. Elementary, discreetly. Within hours, they had the hard drive, recovered exactly where Caldwell had indicated. The encryption yielded to the personal password he'd provided, revealing a meticulously organized archive that made Dennison's evidence look like a mere preview of the corruption. My God, Jennifer whispered as they reviewed the files in Nathan's home office. This goes beyond Detroit. There are connections to education officials in Lansing, federal grant administrators, even congressional staffers. Nathan nodded grimly. A system designed to benefit everyone except the children it's supposed to serve. What are you going to do with this? Michael Dennison asked. The teacher had been released from the hospital that morning, still showing bruises from his ordeal, but determined to continue the fight. Taking this public could destabilize the entire state education system. Maybe it needs destabilizing, Nathan suggested. Sometimes you have to break something completely to rebuild it properly. Sarah Foster, who had joined them at Nathan's invitation, shook her head. The children still need schools while adults sort out the mess. Lily and thousands like her can't put their education on hold for years of investigations and reforms. Her pragmatic concern grounded Nathan. She was right. Righteous exposure wasn't enough. They needed a constructive path forward. What we need, he said slowly, is leverage for systematic change, not just punishment of individuals. Over the next several days, Nathan and his team worked with the Attorney General's office, sharing selected information from Caldwell's files while developing a comprehensive reform proposal. Rather than simply exposing corruption, they were mapping pathways to transform it. Stronger oversight mechanisms, transparent budget processes, whistleblower protections, and most importantly, resources directly benefiting vulnerable students and families. The work was delicate, requiring both pressure and diplomacy. Some officials, seeing the evidence against them, resigned quietly to avoid prosecution. Others fought back, attempting to discredit Nathan and the families who had come forward. The media coverage oscillated between heroic narrative and skeptical, questioning of Nathan's motives. Through it all, Lily Foster became an unexpected symbol of the movement. A photograph of her healed hands holding a book, taken during an interview Sarah had carefully controlled, appeared on the front page of the Detroit Free Press with the headline, "The True Cost of Corruption." Schools across the district remained open under emergency state supervision, with teams ensuring proper staffing and safe conditions while the investigations continued. Lily and the other exploited children returned to normal classes, receiving counseling and educational support to help them recover lost learning. 2 weeks after the initial exposé, Nathan sat in his home office, reviewing the latest draft of the reform proposal, when his assistant announced an unexpected visitor, William Peterson. The tension between them was palpable as Peterson entered, his expression a mixture of discomfort and resolution. "The board met this morning," he began without preamble. "Let me guess, my administrative leave has become permanent termination." Peterson shook his head. "Actually, we voted to reinstate you as CEO, effective immediately." Nathan blinked in surprise. What changed? Everything. The Attorney General publicly credited Reed Technologies' ethical stance for breaking open the largest education fraud case in state history. "Our stock has recovered and then some. The Nakamura Group not only maintained our partnership, but expanded it, specifically citing our commitment to social responsibility." He placed a folder on Nathan's desk. "And then there's this. Over 800 employees signed a petition supporting your return, including every department head and senior manager." Nathan opened the folder, moved by the pages of signatures and personal notes from people he worked with every day. "The board has realized," Peterson continued, "that what we saw as a liability has become our greatest asset. Reed Technologies is now synonymous with courage and integrity. As it turns out, that's good for business." Nathan studied his oldest friend, seeing the genuine regret behind the corporate explanation. "And what about you, Bill? Has your perspective changed as well?" Peterson sighed heavily. "I was wrong. I was so focused on protecting what we'd built that I couldn't see the bigger picture. When those kids' stories started coming out..." He paused, emotion briefly overcoming his usual composure. "My own daughter asked me how I could work with someone who abandoned children being exploited. She's 10. That's when I knew we'd made a terrible mistake." The simple honesty of the admission dissolved much of Nathan's lingering resentment. "It wasn't an easy choice for any of us. But you made the right one." Peterson extended his hand. "Will you come back? The company needs your vision now more than ever." Nathan hesitated, considering how much had changed in just a few weeks. "I will, but on one condition. Reed Technologies needs to establish a permanent foundation focused on educational equity and child welfare, with substantial funding and independent leadership." "The board has already approved the concept," Peterson assured him. "We were hoping you'd oversee its development." As they shook hands, sealing the reconciliation, Nathan realized that sometimes the most difficult paths led to destinations far better than the ones originally planned. Later that evening, he visited the Foster family in their new apartment. Sarah was regaining strength, her latest medical reports showing promising responses to treatment. Martha, Lily's grandmother, had transformed from a fearful, withdrawn woman into an engaged caregiver, participating in support groups for families affected by the scandal. And Lily, the catalyst for everything, was sprawled on the living room floor with homework spread around her, focused intensely on a math worksheet. Her healed hands moved confidently across the paper, her expression one of normal childhood concentration rather than exhaustion and fear. "Mr. Reed," she exclaimed upon noticing him, "I got an A on my science project." "That's fantastic, Lily. What was it about?" "The chemical properties of cleaning products and why some are dangerous for people to use." Her matter-of-fact explanation carried no trace of trauma, only scientific curiosity. "My teacher says I might want to be a chemist instead of a doctor." "Ah, you've got plenty of time to decide," he assured her. Sarah joined them, looking more like her pre-illness self than Nathan had yet seen. "We heard about your reinstatement. Congratulations." "Thank you. It seems doing the right thing worked. Out professionally as well." "Not always the case," Sarah observed. "Have you heard about Caldwell's plea deal?" Nathan nodded. In exchange for his extensive cooperation and evidence, prosecutors had agreed to recommend a reduced sentence. "How do you feel about that?" Sarah considered the question seriously. Mixed emotions. What he did to Lily was unforgivable, but the system that enabled and pressured him deserves equal condemnation. Her perspective echoed Nathan's own complex feelings about Caldwell, the man who had exploited vulnerable children, yet ultimately provided the evidence that might protect countless others. "Mr. Reed?" Lily asked, interrupting his thoughts. "Is Mr. Dennison going to be our teacher again?" "He is. He's taking some time to recover, but he'll be back in the classroom next week." Lily nodded approvingly. "He promised to help me with the science. Fair when he comes back." She returned to her homework, the simple certainty of a child who once again believed in adult promises. As Nathan prepared to leave, Sarah walked him to the door. "There's something I've been meaning to ask you," she said. "Why did you do all this, really? You could have just reported what you saw and moved on." The question deserved an honest answer. "When I was Lily's age, my mother worked 3 jobs to keep us housed and fed. One winter she got pneumonia but couldn't afford to stop working. A teacher noticed how exhausted I was from taking care of her and connected us with resources that helped us survive that period." He paused, remembering. "That teacher showed me that systems can be navigated and changed by people who care enough to get involved. I guess I've always carried that lesson with me." Sarah nodded, understanding. "Well, for what it's worth, you've given Lily a similar lesson. She talks about you every day, the man who saw her when everyone else looked away." As Nathan drove home, he reflected on how a simple library donation had evolved into a movement for systemic change. The road ahead remained challenging, reforms to implement, resistance to overcome, families still needing support. But for the first time in years, he felt aligned with his deepest values, using his position and resources not just for innovation, but for justice. His phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. "Turn on Channel 7 now." At a red light, he switched on the car's media system. The news anchor was discussing a major development. In a stunning extension of the education corruption investigation, federal authorities have announced an inquiry into similar patterns in school districts across 3 additional states. Sources close to the investigation credit information provided by former Garfield Elementary principal Richard Caldwell, raising questions about how widespread such practices may be nationwide. The light turned green, and Nathan drove forward both literally and figuratively toward whatever came next in this unexpected chapter of his life. 6 months passed in a whirlwind of activity. The investigations sparked by Caldwell's evidence expanded across multiple states, revealing similar patterns of corruption in educational systems nationwide. Reform initiatives that had once seemed impossible gained momentum, fueled by public outrage and political pressure. Nathan found himself simultaneously rebuilding trust within his company and helping shape new accountability structures for public education. The Reed Educational Equity Foundation launched with $50 million initial funding and a mission focused on protecting vulnerable students and families. Its first initiative, providing independent advocates for children in underserved districts, was already operating in 10 schools across Detroit, with plans to expand statewide within the year. On a crisp October morning, Nathan stood at the easy entrance of Garfield Elementary, now transformed both physically and operationally. The building gleamed with fresh paint and repairs. The library wing, his original donation now expanded to include a family resource center, was nearing completion. Most importantly, the hallways bustled with the appropriate sounds of education, children's voices, teachers' instructions, the organized chaos of genuine learning. "Quite a change from your last visit," Michael Dennison observed, joining Nathan at the entrance. The teacher had recovered fully from his ordeal and now served as the school's interim principal, while a thorough search for permanent leadership continued. "Almost unrecognizable," Nathan agreed. "How are the students adjusting?" "Better than the adults, honestly. Children are remarkably resilient when given proper support. The trauma counseling has been particularly effective for those who were exploited." Dennison gestured toward the playground where children were enjoying recess. "Lily's thriving, top of her class in science and math. Sarah's been volunteering with our after-school program now that her treatments are going well." They walked through the hallways, noting the properly staffed classrooms and maintenance personnel doing the work that children had once been forced to perform. The cafeteria now operated a backpack program, sending food home with students who needed weekend Nutrition support. The system isn't perfect, Dennison admitted as they toured. We still face budget challenges and policy hurdles, but the fundamental difference is transparency and accountability. Problems can't hide in shadows anymore. In the main office, once Caldwell's domain, a wall-mounted monitor displayed the school's budget and expenditures in real time, accessible to anyone who entered. Adjacent to it hung framed photographs of the new Parent-Teacher Governing Council, deliberately diverse in representation. The community oversight model is being adopted by other schools in the district, Dennison explained. Parents and teachers sharing governance creates natural checks and balances. Nathan nodded, impressed by how practical reforms were emerging from the crisis. And the other families, the ones Caldwell was exploiting. Most have stabilized. The Abdi family's father has proper employment with the district maintenance department now. With fair wages and benefits, the Rodriguez sisters are both getting educational support to catch up on what they missed. We've had a few challenges with families still reluctant to trust the system, but we're making progress. As they continued their tour, Nathan's phone rang. Jennifer calling from Reed Technologies. "You need to see this," she said without preamble. "CNN is about to air an interview with Richard Caldwell from prison. First time he's spoken publicly since his sentencing." Nathan thanked her and turned to Dennison. "Is there somewhere I can watch the news for a few minutes?" The teacher led him to the staff lounge, where a television was already tuned to the broadcast. Several teachers watched with grim fascination as Richard Caldwell appeared on screen. Prison jumpsuit replaced with a plain button-down shirt for the interview. "Mr. Caldwell, you've pleaded guilty to charges including child exploitation, fraud, and embezzlement," the interviewer began. "Yet your cooperation with authorities has led to dozens of additional arrests and reforms across multiple states. How do you reconcile these actions?" Caldwell's face showed the strain of his circumstances, but he maintained composure. "I don't seek reconciliation or forgiveness. What I did was unforgivable. I betrayed the fundamental trust placed in educators and caused harm to children who deserved protection." "Then why cooperate so extensively? Critics suggest you're simply trying to reduce your sentence." "My sentence was settled before I provided most of the evidence," Caldwell corrected. "I'll serve my full 10 years regardless. This isn't about reducing punishment. It's about finally doing what I should have done 15 years ago when I first discovered corruption in the system." The interviewer leaned forward. "You've described yourself as both perpetrator and victim. Can you explain that apparent contradiction?" Caldwell paused, choosing his words carefully. "I was indeed victimized by a corrupt system that punished me for speaking out, but that context explains my actions. It doesn't excuse them. When faced with pressure and threats, I made choices that harmed innocent children. That responsibility is mine alone." "What would you say to those children now, particularly Lily Foster, whose case initially exposed your activities?" For the first time, Caldwell's composure cracked. "I would say, and I'm sorry, not because words can repair what I've done, but because they deserve to hear it explicitly. I betrayed everything that education should stand for, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make amends, knowing it can never be enough." The interview continued, with Caldwell providing specific details about how corruption had become institutionalized in educational systems nationwide. Funding diversions masked as administrative expenses, kickback schemes disguised as vendor contracts, exploitation of vulnerable populations with minimal oversight. Nathan watched silently, struck by the strange journey that had brought them all to this point. A corrupted man helping dismantle the very system that had corrupted him. When the broadcast ended, Dennison switched off the television. "Hard to know what to feel about him," he admitted. "The damage he caused was real, but without his evidence. Without his evidence, the reforms happening now might have taken decades," Nathan finished. "Justice is rarely as clean as we'd like it to be." They continued the tour, ending at a first-grade classroom where Lily's class was engaged in a science experiment involving simple water filtration systems. The little girl, now 7.5, concentrated intensely as she adjusted layers of sand, charcoal, and cotton in a plastic bottle, her expression serious but no longer burdened. When she noticed Nathan observing from the doorway, her face lit up with recognition. She waved enthusiastically before returning to her experiment with the focused dedication she now applied to learning rather than cleaning. "Mr. Reed," the teacher greeted him, "we're learning about water purification today. Would you like to join us?" Nathan accepted the invitation, spending the next 30 minutes helping students test their filtration systems. Lily's design proved particularly effective, removing most contaminants from the deliberately muddied water. "I want to make water safe for everyone," she explained earnestly when he complimented her work. "Mum says lots of places don't have clean water, and that makes people sick." "That's very true," Nathan agreed. "Clean water is essential for health." "Like how those cleaning chemicals made my hands hurt?" she asked, the question reflecting her process of integrating past trauma into her developing understanding of the world. "Exactly. Some chemicals are harmful, which is why children should never have to work with them." Lily nodded seriously. "That's why I want to be a scientist, to make things that help people instead of hurt them." After the class ended, Nathan met briefly with Sarah Foster in the Family Resource Center she now helped coordinate. Her cancer was in remission, her strength visibly returning both physically and emotionally. "We watched the Caldwell interview together," she told Nathan. "Lily had questions afterward, about forgiveness, about justice, complex concepts for a 7-year-old. How did you address them?" "As honestly as I could. I told her that what happened was wrong, that Mr. Caldwell did bad things but is now trying to help fix the bigger problems, that sometimes people can do terrible things and still eventually try to make things right." Sarah sighed. "I'm not sure. I have the perfect answers myself." "I don't think there are perfect answers," Nathan acknowledged. "Just the commitment to keep working toward better systems and healing." Sarah nodded, then changed the subject to more immediate concerns. "The Foundation's Family Advocate program has been transformative for our school. Having someone whose sole job is to help families navigate resources and ensure their children's needs are met. It's filling a critical gap in the system." "We're tracking outcomes carefully," Nathan told her. "Early data suggests significant improvements in attendance and parent engagement when families have dedicated advocates. It's making a difference beyond metrics, too. Families feel heard, respected. That builds trust, which builds community." She smiled suddenly. "Speaking of community, we're holding a fall harvest festival next weekend. Lily would love it if... so you could attend." Nathan checked his calendar. "I'll be there." As he prepared to leave, his phone buzzed with an encrypted message, the secure channel he used for updates on the continuing investigations. The message was brief but significant. "Federal grand jury indictments coming tomorrow. 23 officials across 4 states. Major breakthrough." He showed the message to Sarah, whose expression reflected both satisfaction and weariness. "Will it ever end?" she wondered. "Every layer we peel back reveals another beneath it." "That's how systemic change works," Nathan replied. "Slow, messy, incomplete, but moving forward." Outside in the parking lot, Nathan found Lily waiting by his car, clutching a sealed envelope. "Mom said I could give you this," she explained, handing him the envelope with ceremonial gravity. Inside was an invitation to Lily's upcoming science fair, handwritten in careful block letters with a small note at the bottom. "Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible." The simple gratitude pierced through the complexity of everything that had happened since that first encounter in the school bathroom. Whatever the costs, whatever challenges still lay ahead in transforming a broken system, this moment of connection confirmed the rightness of the path he'd chosen. "I wouldn't miss it for anything," he promised. That evening, Nathan sat on the balcony of his downtown apartment, watching sunset paint the Detroit skyline in amber and gold. On the table beside him lay the formal announcement of tomorrow's indictments, the culmination of investigations spanning multiple jurisdictions and institutions. His phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Reed." The voice was familiar, though distorted, by the prison phone system. "Richard Caldwell." "How did you get this number?" Nathan asked, surprised. "I have my remaining resources," Caldwell replied cryptically. "I saw your visit to Garfield on the local news. The changes look significant. They are not perfect, but substantial. And Lily, thriving, focused on science now, not survival." A long pause. "Good. That's good to hear." Nathan waited, sensing there was more to this unexpected call. "The federal indictments will be announced tomorrow," Caldwell finally continued. "But there's something you should know that isn't in my official testimony. Something I've held back until I could be certain of its significance." Nathan straightened, instantly alert. "What is it?" "The patterns you've uncovered in education aren't isolated. The same networks, the same methodologies, extend into other public systems: healthcare, housing, child welfare. It's all connected by a common thread: the exploitation of vulnerability for profit." "You have evidence of this?" Nathan asked. "I've arranged for one final delivery to your foundation offices tomorrow. A secured drive with connections that extend beyond what anyone has yet pursued." Caldwell's voice grew urgent. "This goes deeper than education, Mr. Reed. The question now is whether you're willing to follow wherever it leads, regardless of how powerful the interests involved." The implication hung between them, that what they'd uncovered so far was merely the visible portion of a much larger system of exploitation and corruption, that the real battle was just beginning. "Why me?" Nathan asked. "Why not take this directly to federal investigators?" "Because some of these connections implicate people within the investigative agencies themselves. This requires someone with both resources and moral clarity, someone who's already proven willing to risk everything for principle." After the call ended, Nathan remained on the balcony, watching darkness settle over the city. Below him, Detroit continued its own complex journey of revival and reinvention, its struggles mirroring in many ways the challenges facing institutions nationwide. The following morning, a secured package arrived at the Reed Educational Equity Foundation as promised. The drive contained meticulously documented connections between educational corruption and broader systems of exploitation: healthcare fraud targeting vulnerable populations, subsidized housing schemes, even manipulation of foster care placements for financial gain. As Nathan reviewed the materials with his team, a pattern emerged of interconnected systems designed to benefit from rather than serve society's most vulnerable members. The implications were staggering, both in the scope of corruption and in the potential for transformative change if these systems could be reformed. "This could take years," Jennifer observed, reviewing the evidence. "Possibly decades to fully address." "Then that's what it takes," Nathan replied simply. Later that day, as federal officials announced the education-related indictments at a press conference, Nathan walked through a neighborhood park near Garfield Elementary. Children played freely on equipment recently renovated through community efforts. Parents chatted on benches, no longer afraid to let their children out of sight. Lily Foster ran across the playground, calling to friends, her movements unburdened by exhaustion or fear. Watching her, Nathan made his decision, not just about Caldwell's new evidence, but about the course of his life moving forward. Some purposes found you rather than the reverse. Sometimes seeing what others overlooked became not just a moment of conscience, but a calling. The path ahead would be challenging, the opposition formidable, the work unending. But the alternative, returning to comfortable blindness, was no longer possible. As if sensing his thoughts, Lily spotted him from the playground and waved enthusiastically, her small hand raised high against the autumn sky, no longer raw and wounded, but healed and reaching toward whatever future she might create. Nathan waved back, silently renewing his commitment. To Lily, to all the children whose voices had been silenced by systems meant to protect them, to the fundamental principle that power existed not for its own sake, but to serve those with the least of it. The work would continue tomorrow,